is to continue finding more graves, and then also making sure that they stay cleaned up, that they, once a year there's a team that goes out and rakes and just make sure everything's kind of kept up. Um, and now that we have a new team along with Prince at Advocating Change Together, Sam is really going to focus on what's the next generation of self advocates kind of work and role that we want to play. And we know it's probably going to have to it's probably going to take some public policy, so some more bills and legislation at the state capitol. um, but that's what Sam is for. The Self Advocates of Minnesota Network is really put in place to have a spot for organizing. And my mentor, actually, Rick Cardenas, was the one that taught me and started the Self Advocates of Minnesota. And it was due to the fact that people with disabilities were never organized. Maybe they were put in programs. Maybe their parents or guardians were told how to give their supports and services. But Rick was the one that said, no, people with disabilities can organize together and get work done and get movement. And that's how the self advocacy Minnesota movement really got lifted off. And I'm so excited to see what the next generation does. And I know Prince will be right alongside us, helping us do that. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Prince, Oh, you unmute. Let me
Yeah,
remove you. Okay. Go ahead, Dara. Go ahead.
I just have a follow up to that. The Self Advocacy Network, one of the very first projects that I did with them, even though I had worked with them as where I did work on and off with them. Actually, it was right around the time that I met Nikki. We actually took a group of folks from ACT to the light rail, and we taught them how to access the light rail, the Green Line, safely. And we actually took a trip out to the Mall of America and back. I think we did it once or twice even.
Well, and wasn't it the point to evaluate as well?
And the point was that we were evaluators of the system. And because we were evaluators of the system, we were able to take that information and make substantial changes to the existing infrastructure of light rail. So it's because of the work that Sam has done, we're able to get back and forth to the Capitol on those cute little trains that everybody calls the light rail.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you guys so much. So, Nikki, there was a question that was asked, and this question goes to you. On Facebook, they said, Nikki, can you please tell us about the work that you do and the importance of the disabled voice in the House of Representatives? So a question was asked. They want you to talk about a little bit about the work you do currently and how important the voice of person with disability important in the House of Representatives or in the government.
Yes. Thank you. That's a great question. And I just want to be clear that most of my work has been done at the state level, so at the Minnesota House of Representatives. And I think that's really important to clarify right now because there's a lot of work happening at the U.S. House of Representatives that's affecting people with disabilities. Around Medicaid and some other benefits that may or may not be cut. And so we're all, very concerned about that. But in my experience in advocating, I've learned so much the importance of people with disabilities sharing their story at the in any body of government. So like I said before, I am a city council member. I advocate at the state level, and I also have advocated on the federal level. And the thing that I have learned over and over again is that the government doesn't know how people with disabilities need to have their supports and services. And so we need to continue to remind them and tell them, like when people get elected and they get put in their positions of power, they don't necessarily know how people with disabilities want or need to live. And so it is our job to really express that, share that story, share our story. And it, you know, it's a very important part of advocacy is to own who you are, own the things that you need, and not be afraid to share that with the share that with the community and your leaders.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. So, Perkins, do you have any question for Nikki and Derek?
Well, thank you so much to our guest for the deliberations. Well, my only concern has to do with, their approaches, to those issues because I believe initially there has not been much attention towards, I assume, towards addressing those challenges that persons with disabilities faces. So, what were the approaches that were used, and how can we replicate those approaches on our local scene? What would be the advice?
Uh, yes, thanks for that question. Like I was talking about with Sam, I think an effective approach is learning how to organize within yourself. So one of the important things to do is make sure that people with disabilities know what's happening in the world, know what's happening in their community. If things are changing in their lives, make sure that people with disabilities know that. So getting together regularly and just talking about it. You know, one thing we have is we have coffee chat and we have Disability Power Day. Those are both two gatherings that we have people with disabilities come and they get to talk about things. They get to talk about what's going on in the world right now, and then they get to talk about their issues they're dealing with in their lives. And then what you have to do is you take those issues and you're going to hear after week some common issues: housing, transportation, healthcare, right? So you take those some main issues, and then you say, hey, us collectively, we're going to work out these main issues. And then you find a point where you can just drive in, right? You push, and you just push, and you make sure everybody that you know knows about that issue and what they should do to change it. And the important thing, and Prince can talk about this too, you know, in ACT, we really care about disability justice, which is bigger than just rights. It says that all humans, we have, you know, some just natural rights and natural things that we should abide by, and that's working collectively. So, you know, everybody has a role. And I think that's an important thing to remember, is that in organizing people with disabilities, do not keep anyone out. Make sure that everyone has a job to do. And I think that's really where you disabled people can have success, is that solidarity. And Daryl, do you want to add something?
Yeah. So, Daryl, you want to
It's really,
that?
for me, it's about making that it's about making that personal connection with your neighbor, with your friend, with the person in the community that you already have that relationship with, and actually expanding that relationship to what is really your common, the common issues that you guys you connect with, right? If you guys connect on gardening, then let's talk about gardening and talk about accessible gardening and what that looks like. If you guys connect with talking about making a ramp or making doors wider, you know, you're talking about carpentry, Well, then talk about that. And then you expand that into other disability issues, and once you start to find those commonalities, then actually the rest of the services, the supports, and everything will come with that, because the services and supports are there. We just have to figure out how to how to utilize them and get them out there to the community. Because if you don't know that they're there, you don't know how to access them, and at the same time, the government doesn't know what to do with them. So it's up to us to really understand what our responsibilities are, and the fact that we have to tell our story, like Nikki says, the importance of telling your story repeatedly is the best thing we can do, because our stories are different from day to day, hour to hour, moment to moment, as Nikki says at times. So our story changes, but the legislature, they are only used to pushing money around or taking money away. So let's give them a reason to give us more money, and let's give them not give them a reason to take things away. And the only reason they take things away is because they don't hear from us. They don't get to hear from us, because people like lobbyists, people like program providers, people like institutional people that are paid to be there, they make a lot of noise. If I'm not paid to be there, I don't get I don't get to get there as often. I don't get to hang out as often. I don't get access to them like everybody else does. But you as a citizen, you as an individual, you as a individual of services and things that you need, you have more access than any of those lobbyists do. Okay? You just have to know where your power is. And
That's your biggest thing.
say, go.
Oh, I just wanted to add that the thing that I love about Daryl when I first started advocating with Daryl at the Capitol is that he is extremely tenacious. So if you want to get something done, you cannot give up. That means when they tell you no, you just keep coming. It doesn't matter if you get 10 no's. All you need is one yes. And that will get you going.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So anybody have question again? Anybody have question panelists?
Yeah, so probably one of my questions that I would like to ask is that, I mean, at the state level, what is in terms of representation, does the community of persons with disabilities has a political representation at the state level, and how you guys, if it is, how you guys went about achieving that?
Yeah. Thank you for that question. That's a great question. It's something that I work on quite often. Because I'm a elected person in my community. My dream is to get more people with disabilities elected into positions of power. And that doesn't happen alone. It takes a lot of people in order to support a person with a disability to be in those leadership positions. And in our state level, I think, like Daryl says, there's certainly a lot more openness about disability at the legislature, but it's very small and few and far between. But what I will say is the silver lining, the good part, the part that we hold on to, is when we do find legislators that either they are a person with a disability or they have people in their family that are people with disabilities, that we try to connect with them. We connect with them as people and as humans. And when we can connect with them, they will be far more apt to jump onto our projects and the things that we need to get done. So it's an important thing.
Thank you. Daryl, you want to throw light on that a little bit? Oh, you on mute.
Representation. I agree with Nikki. It's few and far in between, but what I would like to say is I do see the legislators that do have disabilities and that are are challenged by some of those disabilities, including dyslexia, maybe some learning disabilities, maybe some health challenges that we can't see. But they're now starting to come and and be okay with it. They talk about it. They openly discuss it, and I think it's because of Nikki and I and other folks like you, Prince, that have been up there. You know, because they feel comfortable about it. They know it's something that they have to talk about. So the more that they see us, the more that they're going to be okay with the services that they need, the money that they need to give us. So thank you. Thank you for this time today. Thank you, Nikki,
Thank
for joining us. And thank you to the community of Liberia. One of the things that I want to say, and I know Nikki wasn't going to say this because we are pretty private, but one of the very PCAs that I often remember is a Liberian woman. She had a small child with her. She cared for me when my daughter was very small. And I will say that people from Liberia are very nice and they were very loving and caring. But they're some of the most strictest and very I would say straightforward people at the same time. They have the caring quality, but then they're strict at other times. So so I kind of that.
Thanks, Daryl. Thanks. So Daryl's gonna be back. Anybody else want to ask question? Anybody else want to ask question online? The panelists, Chris and Abraham. So I know it's very important, right? It's very important to have persons. Yeah, Chris, you coming on? You have a question?
Hello, can you
Yeah,
hear
Chris.
me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah,
Hello.
yeah. We can hear you, Chris.
All right. Yes, I was actually listening, but I heard something that Nikki was saying, especially on the area of gathering persons with disabilities to actually to encourage them to contest for election or for them to be elected in public offices. So I just want because that's one of the challenges we are having here in Nigeria, where we have not been able to
7 minutes.
have representation
7 minutes and counting,
in
Tom.
any level of the government. Because in Nigeria Nigeria is similar to America because we have legislative, we have the executive, and we also have we have local government election. I don't know. You people, you call it. I don't know what do you call it in US, but in Nigeria we call it local government. So in all this level, the representation of persons with disabilities is very low. We don't really have persons with disabilities represented in any of these levels of government, and it's really affecting us because our issues are always afterthoughts. It's not really captured the way it should be captured because no, we don't have any representation for us to continue to draw up issues of persons with disabilities. So I want Vicky to guide me, to guide us in Nigeria on the practical steps that that she has been taking in trying to bring together persons with disabilities in one umbrella for them to actually achieve this uh,
You have to go over the
very important
levels
milestone in
because then
achieving this inclusive governance, because that is a big problem in Nigeria. We don't have persons with disability represented in the federal representatives and in the Senate, and also when it comes to the state and local government, we are not also represented. So if Nikki can guide me on how we can come together to push for this, or what is working in America, or what she think we can do in order to achieve that in Nigeria, I'll be glad to get answers to it. Thank you.
Before she respond, let me add to that. Probably she will just respond at the
Well, I
same
think
time.
that is a huge question. And Prince, I think if we could schedule a time to talk
Yeah.
about that specifically, I think I would love to delve deeper into this issue specifically. But very briefly, before I have to leave, I'll just say the biggest thing that I will say is we need to educate people with disabilities. And when I say educate people with disabilities, similar to what I said, they need to know what's going on in the world, but educate them on the political process. So many people, even non-disabled people, don't know the processes of the government. That's the first step. Understanding the process. Because if you can understand a process, you can understand how to flip it on its head. You can learn how to break it. You can learn how to change it and work with it. But if you don't know the processes, then you'll never gain political power. But yes, political power is very important in gaining a better quality of life for all people with disabilities. And Prince, I just want to thank you for inviting me today and meeting everybody here. I do have to get on to. I actually have a hearing that I have to get into to speak. So I will be leaving here. But again, Prince, let's schedule a time to really delve in to how can people with disabilities gain political power, and how can we get more folks with disabilities elected all over the world, because I think that's really important, and that's one of my legacy missions. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Nikki.
Nikki.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
pleasure.
important. Nikki and Dara they have another engagement, so we're going to plan. We're going to plan. We are going to plan to bring Nikki back very soon. I'm going to talk to Nikki tonight. We are going. We have another meeting at what time?
4 o'clock.
4 p.m. Nikki and myself have another meeting 4 o'clock. She and myself going to talk. We're going to bring Nikki back, and maybe sometime, maybe Friday or the weekend or Saturday or next week, because this is very important for us to hear perspective of the disability community, how it works in other countries, and how we can link it to Liberia, Nigeria, and other part of the world, and see us becoming successful in political aspect, in other stuff. And I believe that you guys going to hear Nikki's story a little bit next time. Nikki, if she available, she will definitely come, because I love Nikki's story, how Nikki did not give up to take a seat in the city council. She did not give up. And there were a lot of failures, but she kept pressing until this going election. She won for the second time, right? Yeah, she won for the second time again. This going election in the US. We're so excited. We're going to hear Nikki's story next time. So thank you so much, Nikki. Thank you so much, Dara. We are going to continue our panel
Well
discussion.
done, Nikki. You are a superwoman. You are a superwoman, Nikki.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, Dara. You
Thank
have any
you.
last word?
So great to meet you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dara. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, you guys can. If you guys want to leave, you guys can leave Nikki and Dara. Yeah.
I can stay on for just one more second, guys. What I wanted to tell you is this: you should never be on a Zoom call without some or leaving a Zoom call without something to do. So the one thing I'm
Yes.
gonna ask you to do is call somebody. When you get off this call somebody and tell them about this call. Tell them one thing that you learned about this call that 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 you would like to share with them. And then if they have a question, write that question down and bring it back to us, and Prince will share it with us. at a later date. I mean, the thing is, you have to start to get to know the network around you, and if you don't know the network around you, that is how you build the power. Get to know your neighbors, get to know people around you, because that's going to improve the quality of your life.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daryl. Thank you so much. It's true. It's true. It's one thing to come on the podcast. It's another thing to learn what other people say and start to implement these things. So thank you so much, Daryl. Have a good day. I'll talk to you later. All
Sounds
right.
good. Thanks so much.
All right. So guys, this is it, man. This is it. Dara and Nikki have been in the advocacy business for over so many years, for over 10, 15, 20, 25 years. They have helped, they have helped people with disabilities in the US pass bills, pass a lot of bills at the legislatures level. I'm privileged, and humbled to be part of them. They are my mentor. They are my mentor. They mentor me in the legislature, the governmental side, in the US here. And there are a lot of stuff that been going on that we're working towards. So, Abby, how you doing, man? Good to see you face again.
Yeah, sorry, I'm okay. It's just that I have a little regret that I have to join late. It's something I really wanted to be a part of, but I must admit I'm actually impressed about the network, and I like the kinds of people we are receiving on the platform.
Yeah,
I mean, this is going to take us very far in terms of preparing all in our respective countries, in terms of including persons with disability when it comes to their political life, health, social inclusion. So yes, I'm actually impressed and I'm happy, and I must say a very big thank you to you and the rest of the colleagues that made it possible for you guys to have appeared on our show. I'll be very happy if we can continue the kinds of engagement and let us go beyond Nigeria and Liberia. I think we need to get in touch with some of our brothers from the Ivory Coast, the Sierra Leone,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
the Guinea and other places. I
yeah.
see this as a global call, and I think we need to unite to fight and then to improve the life of persons with disability globally. But thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, AB. And this is very important. So Jeremiah, your background is kind of a little bit noisy. That's why I put you on mute. So how are you? How you doing?
Well, I'm doing great in Liberia for now. Everything is okay with us. The part of Monrovia I'm living is okay.
Oh, that's good. So you are the group of 77, right?
Yeah, right now I just entered from class.
All right. So these are one of the things we were talking about last week when you ask someone to put your chair from group of 77 all the way on campus. I don't know how far was that, but that's something the government need to. I think that's something you guys need to push, not the government, but I think this is something you guys need to push in. You guys need to push in Liberia. Transportation, transportation. Welcome back, Chris. Welcome back. Transportation is very important in Liberia, especially for students
All right.
with disabilities. So, how's that going? Have you guys ever pushed for transportation in Liberia, Jeremiah?
Well, I would say yes because our university student association, which pranking accident boys is the president, we push that in the association to the university level. But up to present, our push has not yielded any result for now. We even went to the LINSU, the student council leader. We push it also. He is in the know of that. But here in Liberia, you know that before something happened, we have been marginalized greatly. depressed and oppressed. Even education that we are pursuing, so some people when they see all the stereotype, they all want to in wheelchair. What will he do when he learn? Which ministry he will work in? These are some of the the stereotype that they gave us, but we will not give up. We know that we will continue to push and we will become somebody in future. So it's not easy when it comes to transportation. That is the challenges we are facing here in Liberia.
Okay, thank you. So, Chris, are you there? I need to find out from Chris, because we know that Liberia is one of the huge issues when it comes to person with disability transportation, especially especially students with disability or working person with disability. Transportation has become a major issue. So, Chris, in Nigeria, how is the transportation issue for person with disability in Nigeria? You smiling there?
Praise. I don't just want to talk about it at all because it's nothing to talk about in Nigeria. When it comes to transportation here in Nigeria for persons with disabilities, it's completely zero. There's no plan for persons with disabilities here in Nigeria at all. No plan at all. Because we have a transportation.
Hello, Chris. I'm sorry.
You get me?
Hello, Chris.
Yeah,
Chris, I'm sorry. Prince,
can you hear me?
Can't you mute Jeremiah? I think there's some distraction.
All right.
Please mute Jeremiah.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's better now. It's better now.
Yeah.
So I say transportation in Nigeria is we are at zero level in Nigeria when it comes to accessible transportation in Nigeria. Is nothing is really going on. The kind of the road we have in Nigeria are the type that if you're a wheelchair user, you cannot even make use of the road. Even when you're wheeling along the road, you cannot even make use of the road. And if you're a blind person, it's also that you also face the same challenge. And we have the bus, and some of the buses we have, none of them has ramps, that will aid a wheelchair user, a crutches user to make use of any of the buses. So recently, the government, because as part of their palliative measure to cushion the effect of the high cost of fuel in Nigeria. Nigeria economy revolves around, in Nigerian energy economy revolves around petroleum. So the government, the current government actually increased the fuel pump price, and it affected the standard of living in Nigeria. And for that reason, they said they want to put up some palliative to cushion the effect of it. And one of the programs towards cushioning the effect of the fuel subsidy removal is introduction of buses. They call it CNG buses, and those buses, none of them, even though it's not enough, because it's just some pockets of them in maybe in Abuja, and Abuja basically, and in Lagos State, where you can also see buses operating, and none of the buses is actually accessible for persons with disabilities. So in Lagos State, you can see some few buses that is for persons with disabilities, and in Lagos State, because that's the best model that we have in Nigeria. In Lagos State, we can actually boast of few buses that is accessible for persons with disabilities, and they made transportation for persons with disabilities in those buses free in Lagos State. But in other parts of the country, there's nothing like that. It's not really happening. There's no cheap means of transportation in Nigeria. So if you're a person with disability and you want to make use of the road, you have to spend In fact, you have to empty your pockets because it's only the most expensive means of transportation that you can make use of. Or else you have to stay at home, you will not go out. So that is exactly what is going on in Nigeria. So when it comes to accessible transportation, is not happening. Then the rail that we have is also the same thing at the railway. The first day I tried to make use of the train, I couldn't access the coaches because from the platform to the coach, there's is very high that they need to lift you before you can get into the coaches. And for that reason, somebody like me, I don't go close to the trains any longer because I can't even access them. So the only way I move around is only I make use of my car. I buy very expensive. I spend money. In fact, I spend like 20,000 naira every 2 days fueling my car. So that is the way it is for me in Nigeria. So when you calculate it, 10,000 daily, when you calculate it for the number of days in a week, let me just say 20 days in a week because maybe weekends I may not really go out, but 5 days within a week I have to go out. So when you calculate 10,000 for that is how many days in a that is 20 days in a month. That is I'm spending around 200,000 on fuel alone. So that is for somebody like me. So when you now look at other persons with who cannot afford it, so what happens to them? Because I will say I am one of the privileged ones among persons with disabilities in Nigeria. So what of greater number of persons with disabilities who cannot afford that? What happens to them? So that's what we are. Well, that's why we are shouting. And when you look at disability law, it addresses some of these things. When the law talked about making sure that in the issue of transportation, the buses, the bus terminals, the buses themselves have to be made accessible, and not just accessible for those with physical disability, but for other forms of disability, both the blind. For the blind, the buses must have audio announcement. For the deaf persons, the buses must have screen displays where they will need to know their bus stops and even the right buses for them to enter. But we don't have them in some of the buses that they are provided. No screen displays, no audio announcement. It's not just accessible for persons with disabilities at all. So that's exactly the situation for when it comes to transportation in Nigeria. So I know Liberia will be better than Nigeria when it comes to that. And there's nothing, government is not even thinking about introducing any allowance for persons with disability to cushion the effect of this high cost of living for persons with disabilities in Nigeria. So it's so terrible. We are going through hell here. So it's so difficult as a person with disabilities living in this country called Nigeria.
Okay, thank you so much. We have a few more minutes to go for the day. I want to say thank you, but before we go, I would like to ask people to give the last word because the assistant just remind me we have a few more minutes. So starting with you, Jeremiah, and then last word for you, Jeremiah.
Let him unmute himself now. He's muted.
Yeah, Jeremiah. Jeremiah, any last word? Any last statement? Last statement.
Parting comment?
Last comment.
You are breaking in.
I say you have any last comment before we go.
Okay. Thank you so much again. It's very difficult, more especially in Nigeria, as I heard listening to my brother. Here is not just easy, but those who are wheelchair bound in Liberia, we are the ones that really suffer a lot when it comes to transportation. Because travel to look at your wheel and yourself and wait for you, that is hard thing to think of. But I want to say that this group, we should we make people to understand that we are serious. We are serious. One of our brother was talking about we should carry on a global call, Sierra Leone, Guinea, all the places. When we do that, that will be all right, and we have leaders in the various country to push this idea that we will make sure and engage the government a constructive way where our voices will be heard. Thank you so much. Are you hearing me?
AB, your last statement.
Yes, so it's so unfortunate, Chris. I mean, I'm so sorry. I've been wishing to interact with you. Unfortunately, I've been caught up with a lot of things, but it is a great effort, and I must appreciate your coming on the show. We look forward to seeing you on most of our shows. Like I was sharing with one of our colleagues, I think some of the best way to fight for persons with disability is to have people from other nations, like maybe Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Liberia. I mean, you name it. We have some of our colleagues from the US. I mean, we want to have a kind of consolidated effort where when we start to fight, we can get support from all around the world. So yes, I look forward in interacting with you more. It's just unfortunate, but I really plan to interact with you today. Let's keep talking. Let's keep the hope alive. The scenario with Liberia and that of Nigeria are almost the same. In Africa, we are not short of laws. We have some of the best law. Our problem is implementation. When it comes to transportation, there isn't no different from what you explain about Nigeria to that of Liberia. It's almost the same. Liberia have some of the best laws, but implementation is lacking. So we hope as we have met here, we'll continue to advocate for persons with disability and really foster some of the challenging issue we have in making sure that our voices are heard. So thank you so much, and I'll be very happy to interact with you after here. I mean, let's keep talking. Thank you so much.
All right, Chris. Thank you, AB. Chris, and the last
Thank
word.
you, Abraham. All right. Just like Abraham said, we need to keep on the conversation. As we keep on the conversation, whatever we are learning, we have to apply it. We have to continue to advocate. You know, we don't need to give up. We need to continue to talk to those, even those who care to hear, those who doesn't care to hear, we'll continue to talk to them. So, but what we need to do is to continue to remind them that for the fact that we have a disability today does not mean that disability have reside among us alone. It can be anybody anytime. It can be anybody anytime. Some persons with disabilities today, we are not born with disability, they acquire disability. So when we talk about disability, we are not just talking about only persons who have disability today. We are talking about everyone. And when we have a more accessible more accessible society, is for everybody. So these are the ways we need to let them know that issues of persons with disabilities is everybody's business, because it can be anybody at any time. So we need to continue to remind people that they need to know that they are not fighting for persons with disability, but they are also fighting for themselves. That they should have at the back of their mind, so that they will not say it's. That's why I keep challenging people when they say them. Are you saying them? You think you're not part of it? Because as long as you wish to live and you want to get old, disability will surely come. So together we will achieve, just like Abraham said, we'll continue to work together. And for me, I'll continue to come on this space. Cole, I'm giving you my commitment today. I'll continue to come on this space so that we'll continue to discuss. The next thing we need to do is to now begin to talk about strategies that can work, that we can apply, so that when we apply such, as we're applying them, we'll come back and discuss how far we have gone. We discover the loopholes, our weaknesses, know our strengths. Together, we can continue to share ideas. And when we continue to do that, it will not be long. We'll achieve what we are looking for. Thank you very much, every one of you, to always come up to this place for us to air our views. So what I keep telling people, that educated persons with disabilities in Africa is the hope of a lot of persons with disabilities. We have a greater number of persons with disabilities who are not educated. So some of us who are educated, please, we should not shy away from speaking out. We should not shy away from speaking out, because our voice is the voice of millions of persons with disabilities out there who cannot speak for themselves. Thank you very much, every one of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. For those of you who are, I want to say thank you to all the panelists. Thank you to Jeremiah. Thank you to Nikki and Paul. I showed that Nikki is going to be here on Friday. She's going to come back on Friday to enlighten us a little bit. I'm telling you about
Sure,
this.
we want to engage her.
Yes, we need to engage Nikki, because first of all, let me say thank you to the audience, to our viewers who are viewing, who are watching. We love you. Thank you so much. Come back here Friday. We're going to be here Friday. We're going to be here Friday. We're going to be here Friday at the same time. We're encouraging each and every one of you to be back here on Friday. We're going to make sure we tap into other countries, like Sierra Leone, Guinea, Africa, Zambia, Ghana. We're going to make sure we tap to bring voices from those countries that will come on this platform, so we can hear the perspective surrounding the disability community. We want to say thank you to Chris. We get a lot of work to do. Like Abraham said, we have a lot of work to do with you, Chris. And we're hoping to see you in our meeting, coming up meeting. I'm going to discuss it with Abraham from here. I'm going to call AB and discuss one or two things that Chris and myself talk about. And we are so happy that this platform is existing. The platform is for persons with disabilities to tackle some issues. And I'll tell you the truth, even though Nikki and Dara didn't have the much time, but those two are forced to reckon with. They are forced in the disability community to reckon with, especially Nikki, who is active right now. You know, Nikki is my mentor. She's mentoring me, you know, on the governmental side in the US, you know, to take a position one day, you know, in government. So Nikki is my mentor. So she's sitting on the city council right now. She won her second term. This is her second term, and Nikki is going for another 4 years. So, and she has she's not letting her disability stop her from accomplishing these things. So we are going to talk to her this evening. I have a meeting with some group, Nikki and I. So after the meeting, we're going to chat a little bit. I'm going to invite her here on Friday. So to our audience, we love you. Our viewers, we love you. Please come back on Friday. So thank you and have a blessed day, guys.
All right.
Thank
Bye.
you so much.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Yeah.